Hi there, homeschooling supermoms. My name is Susan. I'm one of your administrators here inside the group. I'm excited that you are all joining us today. We have Devin with us, as you guys know. Devin's with Homeschool House Calls and professional home educator. And Devin and I are so excited about today's workshop. We have been waiting for it and anticipating it. We've heard from a lot of people inside of our groups as well as email us about how exciting this particular workshop is. And so it is our pleasure to introduce you to JJ Graves, who is a puppeteer and the creator of Douglas Talks. So as we do this workshop, we are so excited. So as we do this workshop, we want you guys to know that this is a workshop for the whole family. If you have kids and you want them to watch with you, we invite you to do so. This is a fun time that you guys can actually have the chance to ask questions to JJ, and feel free to add comments as we go through. Add your questions in the comments area. We'll be happy to connect those comments or questions with JJ as we are here inside the workshop. If you're watching the workshop after it's completed and it's recorded, you can go ahead and drop us a note because we'll make sure we get in touch with JJ, and so he can help answer those questions that you might have. The other thing that Devin and I want to ask you guys is take a picture of the puppets inside your home or with your kids, and feel free to drop them in below this video. We're excited about this workshop and invite your participation. Give us a like in the video. And so anyway, it is our pleasure, isn't it, Devin? We're so excited about this workshop. Yeah, it is our pleasure to introduce you to JJ Graves. So JJ, welcome.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Well, we are excited. We've already said that, but we're super, super excited.
Me too.
For those of you that are not familiar with JJ, he is a puppeteer and the creator of Douglas Talks. So we are excited to hear all about all these things. So here are some of the questions that we received, as well as some of the questions that we came up with. So JJ, Here we go. So JJ, where are you from currently? Where did you grow up? Were you homeschooled, public schooled, private schooled? Do you have children of your own? Tell us a little bit about you.
Sure. So I'm from Omaha, Nebraska, and I currently live in Lincoln, Nebraska, but that's pretty much just where we sleep. Our studio and all my family is up in Omaha, so that's about an hour away. And lived here pretty much my whole life, definitely a Nebraska boy. And I was homeschooled until high school, where I went to a private Christian school. And my family is very creative. I know that that's pretty normal for homeschool families. We seem strange compared to, other families, but fit right into homeschool families, very creative. And I've got 3 kids, 2 daughters and a son. They're almost 5, 2 and 8 months. And so they're pretty little, but yeah, we're doing some homeschooling with them. Especially my wife is really teaching them a lot. And I've been a puppeteer for about 18 years now. And it's definitely a passion that has turned into a career, which is pretty fun.
When you were younger, did you think you would become a puppeteer? I mean, was that kind of your goal, or was that just something that just evolved as you were going through life?
So when I was very little, I was scared of puppets. So definitely no. But my church had a puppet team, and they would, they would perform for nursing homes, but they'd also perform at like other churches, but also our church. And so I would see them performing these big, like maybe half-hour performances. And as a child, I loved those. And when I was about 12, I asked my parents if I could join the puppet team and be a part of the team. But at the time, we had I can't remember what we called it, Sunday Fun Day, or Family Fun Day, something like that. But it was just Sunday was our family day, and so we'd do something fun in the afternoon. And the puppet team practice was on Sundays, and so they said, "No, you can't join the puppet team." But as we got a little bit older and everybody was kind of doing more extracurricular type stuff, we weren't really doing the family Sunday anymore. And so my parents let me join, and then my mom joined the team. and then my brother joined the team, and my sister, and my other sister, and my dad, and then we ended up. That was our new family
That's so fun.
Sunday thing.
That is. So everybody got involved in the puppeteering action.
That's
That
so
is really neat. So that was one of my questions. What sparked your interest in becoming a puppeteer, and at what age did your interest start? So you started puppeteering when you were younger, and through your church, and so I'm guessing that's how you learned how to be a puppeteer, or at least it sparked that learning curve.
Yeah, so we had the folks that were leading the puppet team at the time. They had been doing it for about 10 years. So they taught us how to perform, how to use the puppets, how to do all that stuff. And aside from that, there were also conferences, children's ministry conferences, but specifically there were whole conferences just for Christian puppetry that we would go to. They had regional and international festivals that we would go to. And I got really involved with those. Had a lot to learn from a lot of people, some really cool people that are still friends to this day. But there was, lots of opportunities for learning at the time. It's been a little bit harder, obviously this last year or so for people to get out and get training. There's some really good online resources for people, but for me, it was all physical, hands-on, going to conferences, that sort of thing.
So when did you know that you wanted to be, that puppeteering was kind of your career, that you were going to head down this trail that you're currently on?
So in 2003, I joined the puppet team, and then in 2005, my friend who was on the puppet team, we all kind of learned how to build puppets together, and he and my mom and I learned how to build puppets. And my mom actually turned that into a business where she would sell custom puppets to churches or plays, that sort of thing. And I built a puppet for her to sell, and I looked at him and I was like, I kind of want to keep this one. And that was Douglas. And so I started doing, on the puppet team, we had several opportunities to do performances around, regionally, pretty close to church. But I kind of started doing my own thing. So I was still on the puppet team, but I was also just taking Douglas and performing solo, and not having a lot of opportunities back then, but just kind of slowly growing. And in 2008, I think it was, I joined, I did a puppetry internship with one of the main companies that does a lot of the puppetry conferences, the Christian puppetry conferences. And that was pretty much the time where I thought this could be a career. In college, my degree is in children's ministry, it's student ministry specifically. And so I kind of always thought that I would be a children's minister, and I have been, but I thought it would be children's ministry with puppets on the side. And then it kind of turned into children's ministry and puppetry sort of even, but now it's gotten to the point where the ministry of Douglas Talks has taken up a lot more time, had to go full time with it.
That's exciting.
And I was going to say, as far as like knowing that I wanted to do it as a career, like full time instead of just a hobby, I was working at Sam's Club selling cell phones, and we were going to go on a trip to go visit my in-laws who live in Japan. And I got time off, and then my manager's manager came in and said, actually, you can't have time off. And I said, well, we've already got the tickets. And so I had to quit at Sam's Club. And then while we were in Japan, I was like, I don't want to do that anymore. I want to do puppets full time. So that's kind of what led us here.
Wow, that is really neat. So you built Douglas yourself.
Yes.
And so how did you learn how to build a puppet?
So there are quite a few places actually nowadays. If you go to YouTube and search how to build a puppet, there are a ton of resources. But back then, you kind of had to buy a pattern. There were not many places where you could find a cool pattern that were sort of the big mouth type puppet, like the Muppet kind of puppet. But my buddy, actually, who was I always joke that I learned how to build puppets from Ronald McDonald, because my buddy was he is a clown, and he was a regional Ronald McDonald at the time. But yeah, we got a pattern and learned the basics, and then sort of branched off from there.
Wonderful. So if there was a child today that was interested in being a puppeteer, obviously your church had a puppet ministry, but what if some kids don't have access to that? How might they go about learning more about being a puppeteer?
Well, like I said, there are so many free resources on YouTube right now. If you have anything that you want to learn, if you just want to say how to be a puppeteer, I'm sure that if you search that, there are several really good teachers out there that have free content. And it seems like the puppetry community is pretty open. That's at least been my experience. Really excited to share secrets. It's sort of like magicians. They'll only share their secrets if you're in the special club, but puppeteers are like, oh yeah, let me show you how I did this and how I did that. I really, really enjoy passing on knowledge. So there's Facebook groups, there, like I said, YouTube channels that are devoted to that. And yeah, there's just a lot of really good free content out there. And all you really have to do is just search for it.
So are you still using the same Douglas? Do you have multiple Douglases?
I have one Douglas, and actually my mom just pointed out to me last Sunday that Douglas is now as old as I was when I built him. So he's a really old puppet. So I have plans to build a new one, but it's also kind of sad, kind of dragging my feet because using the same puppet for so long. But yeah, he's kind of starting to show his age a little bit.
Is he with you?
He is not. He is at the studio, which is about an hour away. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Very good.
He stayed home.
He stayed home. Yeah.
He's resting.
He's resting. He's asleep.
Yeah. Do your kids have? Well, they're so little.
Yeah.
Do they play puppets? Do they?
Yeah, they sort of get it and sort of don't get it. My 2-year-old the other day, I was at the studio filming, and my studio was at our friend's house in one of their spare bedrooms. And my daughter was downstairs, and she was talking to my wife, and she could kind of hear me talking through the walls. And she was like, Daddy's upstairs with Douglas, and Douglas is talking, but not Daddy. It's like, yep, that's pretty much what's happening.
Oh, that is cute. So if we have a parent watching and they were interested, like we've talked about how their child might learn, is this like to just get started into one? Some hobbies are super duper expensive and other hobbies are reasonably priced. Can you tell us a little bit? Is there a lot of fancy equipment involved? Does it have to be expensive at the beginning? Can you kind of tell us a little bit about this as if we had a child that might be interested in becoming a puppeteer? Sure.
So with a lot of things, you can start pretty much as small as you want. I mean, literally start with a sock. And it kind of depends on what you want to do. Back in the day when I would travel with Douglas, you needed a stage and you needed some sort of sound equipment. You need like a speaker and a microphone and that sort of thing so you could be heard. But these days, if your main audience is online, it is so accessible. It's insanely accessible. Actually, there's no way that I'd be able to have puppetry as a career if it weren't for how easy it is to make content now. Honestly, if you've got a phone, you've got a better microphone and a better camera, especially camera, than people dreamed about 30, 40 years ago. Yeah. So if you're if you're just starting out, if you want to start, just start. It's super easy. The advice that I would give is, if you're going to be making content online, just make sure, if you're a kid, make sure that you have your parents totally involved with every step of the process, because the internet is amazing. Like there's so much information out there, and it's so easy to find or like a really niche audience. It's so easy to find your tribe, you could say, online, but you're also pretty exposed to the world. Anytime you make something and put it out there, you're interacting with the world at large, and it can be pretty hard sometimes. YouTube is not always, or I should say, the people on YouTube are not always nice. And so if you're a kid, it's really good to have your parents sort of kind of run your channel for you. And I would always advise that parents
That's
be
good
heavily
advice.
involved online.
Yeah, I agree. It's really great advice, because you're so right. When you're out there on YouTube, even social media,
Sure.
as in Facebook, you are exposed to a lot of comments, and sometimes, as we all know, the world can be cruel.
Sure.
And kids already have big enough challenge on their hands.
Right.
Growing up, it's tough enough growing up, and making sure that we protect our young children is really important. You're right.
And there's also a few things where there's like legal considerations. Like, it's not very difficult to take a song that you have on your computer or your phone and put it in a video, and that's fine. If you make a video, like a music video or something for yourself or for your family, there's nothing wrong with that. But if you put it on YouTube, then you can run into some problems, and there's all kinds of stuff that can crop up as far as legal stuff, especially copyright.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, great points. So thank you for that information.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely gonna be asking JJ some more information, but I also want to invite those that are watching, by all means, feel free to ask questions or drop us a comment, and we'll be happy to share those on to JJ. So, all right. So JJ, one of the things we kind of covered this. I'd like to hear more about Douglas Talks.
Mhm.
What inspired you to create Douglas Talks? And we already talked about, did you create the puppets for your program? So we know a little bit more about Douglas, but can you tell us a little bit more about Douglas Talks and what
Sure.
inspired you?
Yeah. So I've always loved children's ministry. I've always loved teaching kids, especially teaching them biblical truths, teaching them about God's word. And I really love puppetry as a tool for that. There's something about puppets that are just really engaging. If I were to tell the exact same story as a puppet, the kids are going to be paying attention to the puppet much better than they would to me. And so they're a really good vehicle for telling stories and for sharing information, that sort of thing. And Douglas Talks kind of grew out of that love of teaching, but also really fell in love with again, puppetry itself as an art form. I feel like I'm sort of gifted in that way. It's a weird sort of gifting, but that's kind of how I turned out. And Douglas Talks specifically it's a really simple concept. It's just a one puppet show. And Douglas comes up and he tells a story from his life about how he's learned something from his own life that has helped him to better understand God's word, helped him to better understand the Bible and God's plan for his life. And the whole idea is to try to teach biblical truths in a way that's fun and easy to understand, and to be a resource for parents and teachers that can, like I said, sort of help them teach their kids. Because I never really wanted it to be something where it's like, yeah, just put your kids in front of YouTube or whatever and just turn on Douglas. It's all meant to be sort of an aid, a way that you can help explain things. Because a lot of times kids have questions and you're like, you kind of know the answer, but it's kind of hard to explain it to a child, like, you're like, yeah, I know I know the answer to that question, but I'm not sure how to say it, and that's kind of the whole point of Douglas Talks, is to sort of say it from a child's perspective, because Douglas is somewhere around 7 to 10 years old. And so we try to make the stories, the lessons, which are about like 3 to 8 minutes long a piece. We try to make them engaging, and because they're from the perspective of a child, it makes it a little bit easier to teach them sometimes some really difficult or complex truths, which those are my favorite things to teach, are the things where it's like sometimes it's even hard for adults to understand, but if you can explain it to a kid. I think there's a quote, I think it's misquoting Einstein, but there's a concept either way, whether it's his quote or not, that if you can't explain something to a 5-year-old, you don't understand it. And I really like that thought, that idea, that if you can explain something to a kid, that's not just good for kids, it's good for adults too, to sort of break it down to what the fundamental truths. And story is a great way to teach in pretty much any setting.
Yeah, I agree.
Good.
So Douglas Talks, tell us, I'm assuming homeschool parents can use this. Is there a free version? Is there a paid version? Can you tell us a little bit more about Douglas Talks?
Sure. So we've got about 200 episodes now, actually just over 200. And we have a new episode that comes out every Monday. And all of the stories that we have, all the lessons, the episodes, are all on YouTube for free. There's like a little ticker that goes underneath that says, for more Douglas, go to douglastalks.com. And then there's a little thing at the end that says, where Douglas comes up and says, hey, thanks for watching this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, that sort of stuff. But on our own website, people can download the same videos that we have on YouTube, but they don't have the little ticker and they don't have the little blurb at the end. It's just the lesson. And that's actually how one of probably the main revenue stream that we have from the ministry is selling downloads to especially churches. For families, I've found that most of the time, I don't have many families that buy the downloads because they can just watch them on YouTube. And that works for a lot of people. On our website, though, we do have a little family time devotion that goes along with each new video. We've been doing that for about a year now. So it's got questions, it's got some Bible verses to look up, and it's got a little prayer at the end. So it's just a little mini devotional that people can do as a family.
Nice. Yeah. So great resource for our families. So if you have littles, and you want a fun way to teach biblical information, check out Douglas Talks, either on YouTube or their website. We put the information up so that you guys can grab that information. We have a comment that they're talking about how they want to watch this particular video, but they're unable to. Will there be a replay? And the answer to that is yes. We're going to leave it up in our groups for a little bit of time. And you guys can certainly watch this video. And like we said, if you have a question for JJ, by all means, put it in the comments. Even if you're watching this as a replay, we'll be happy to connect you with JJ and get some of your questions answered. So I'm glad you asked that question. So Devin, I've been asking a ton of questions. I'm sorry. I'm just fascinated with being a puppeteer.
Questions.
Yeah, I'm fascinated by being a puppeteer and how which you've answered these questions. How in the world did you get interested in this, and how did you nurture this along, and how did you go from, now we've learned, how did you go from your interest to now having this as a full-time career? Very interesting career.
We had a lot of fun in the group with this topic this week. I wish every week could be like this week. Because everybody, on Monday, I asked everybody, okay, what was your favorite puppet? Who was your favorite character? It went wild. So I know mamas have been excited all week.
Absolutely.
Because I've kind of remembered how much, and he's talking about, you've taken me back is what you did. I have a puppet pattern somewhere in my attic.
Nice.
So I was like, oh, I have a puppet pattern somewhere.
Uh-huh.
My kids, I need to pull it out for my girls. I need to see if I can find it. But I taught Sunday school teachers in the former Soviet Union way back
Oh,
when.
wow.
And not puppets. They were good with puppets. And but you took me back today. Some of my favorite things I remember from early adulthood. Not that I'm old now. I'm still 20.
Yes.
One thing that kind of, I was going to say the talking about the pattern thing kind of reminded me of something, because like when you're starting out with puppetry, it's like I said, you can start with anything and you can make a really good looking puppet, like literally out of a sock. But one thing to point out is if people are wanting to sort of make it into a career and sort of progress into not just maybe making your own content. Like for me, I make my own stuff. I have my own channel, that sort of thing. But if you want to sort of kind of get with larger companies or that sort of thing, if you want to get into the larger puppetry world, again, starting small is great, but the puppets are a lot more expensive than you would expect. It kind of threw me for a loop when I was a kid, and there's these little puppets that are at the conference, and they're $50. Like, wow, $50. That's a lot of money. I don't know. I got to save up for that. But for the professional, like television quality puppets, easily starting at about $6,000.
It's
so
amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah, it is a little bit crazy, but honestly, that's one of the other things that I love about puppetry in general is you can spend that $6,000, get a really good puppet, or you can go to YouTube and watch some tutorials on how to make a puppet that looks very much like that. And it takes practice to kind of get to the point where you can build a puppet that is studio quality, television quality, that sort of thing. But it can be a huge investment, not just for puppets, but for equipment, for lighting, for microphones, for cameras, for all that stuff. So it's cool because you can start small, but it can also grow to pretty much as far as you want to take it.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, I think it's a very wonderful career. I love anything that's creative, and now I want to go talk my kids into being puppeteers. They may not listen to me. I may just have to do it myself.
There you go.
Yeah, Caitlin's already been researching where she can have a puppet made. I guess there's a place in New York that you can have your own Muppet for your family made, and all kinds of stuff. So yeah. So also, JJ, we probably should get your mom's website, post it below the video, also in case there's an interest there. Also,
she's actually not building anymore.
Oh.
She's been consumed by another passion, which is renovating old homes.
Oh, well, that's fun too.
Yeah, that is.
She's having a lot of fun, but she's not building puppets anymore, which is sad. End of an era.
Yeah. And she's busy with grandchildren too.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, that's true.
Very good. Well, JJ, this has been so informative and so fun. Like Devin and I have shared with you, we've been waiting for this. This is we would like all weeks to be where we get it's so fun. So
glad to be here. It's been fun.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you for sharing with us about being a puppeteer and what sparked you to be a puppeteer, and then information about Douglas Talks, so that as parents we can utilize those resources. Check it out on YouTube as well as your website. So again, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, mamas, for joining us this afternoon. We hope you have enjoyed today's workshop, and we'll look forward to seeing you soon. Drop us a note inside the comments area. We'd love to hear from you. And there's more information on how you can get to Douglas Talks in the post just above the videos also. So thanks so much. See you all later. Bye for now.